I really worried going into the series upon reread that it wasn't going to be as magical the second time around as it was for me the first time. And this just in some ways felt like it wasn't written by Seanan McGuire. Say it with me, 5 stars. I'm so pissed. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today is the most exciting day. Woo! Because I'm challenging myself to read the entire Wayward Children series in 24 hours. Listen, I don't want to talk about the fact that they changed the spine on this newest one. We're moving on. The Wayward Children series by Seanan McGuire was really what propelled me back into my love of fantasy series. And just last week, the newest book in the series, Lost in the Moment and Found, was released. So I thought in honor of this amazing release, I would reread the entire series. Then I thought, what if I tried to read it all in 24 hours? So in true ADHD fashion, I was just like, okay, done. How many pages is that in total? I meant to calculate that before. Let's see. So if my calculations are correct, I'm going to be reading 1,418 pages over the next 24 hours. Now I say that, but here's the thing. I'm actually recording the intro and the outro to this the day after. So I've already done it. I didn't want to record this part before because I didn't know if I was actually going to read it in 24 hours. I didn't know if I was going to have to change that challenge a little bit, but I did it. I fucking did it. There were definitely moments I thought that it wasn't going to happen, but there were actually some shocking discoveries that happened in this vlog. We've got a lot of adventures to go on over the next 24 hours, so let's go ahead and get into it. So if you've never read the series before, Every Heart a Doorway is the first book in the Wayward Children series by Seanan McGuire. It's a series of now 8 novellas. They're all really short. This first book is kind of an introduction to a lot of our characters and also Eleanor West's School for Wayward Children. This is a school for children who have found doors to other worlds. So this series I would describe as like kind of fantasy, kind of horror. We're following children a lot of times, but it's definitely not a children's book. This is an adult series. So the series rotates back and forth. The first one, all of the odd numbered ones, they usually take place with a lot of the different characters, and it's usually at the school. And then every other book from there can be read as a standalone, and it's typically following one child and the door to the world that they find, and like their first time kind of exploring the world they're in. Ugh. This series made me fall so hard for fantasy again. I picked up this first and second one from the library and instantly ordered all of the books because I was so in love with them. But I actually think that I gave Every Heart a Doorway 4 stars, which is typical for me in series. As I go on in series, I usually rate them higher because we get more of a chance to fall in love with the characters and the worlds. And for me, I just feel like I get a better feel, so that's very typical. But I think other than this one and then one more that we'll get to, I rated the rest of them 5 stars, like easy 5 stars. I think that just the nature of this vlog is going to have to contain spoilers. I'll put warnings and timestamps for any spoilers that I say, especially when it comes to the standalones, because I think that those will be easier to talk about without spoiling things. But when it comes to the books that kind of start to connect, which is like every other book in this series, I just feel like the vlog would become so repetitive if I didn't mention spoilers. But I'll give you a heads up whenever that happens. For now, I'm gonna start drinking some coffee, take my medicine, and start reading. It is right now 9:13. We got 24 hours. Let's go.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I love.
Wow. I love this series so much. Oh my god. And I brought all of the books back with me, but I did not bring the cover of this book, which is fine because I tend to flail them around anyway. Oh, 5 out of 5. So, oh my god. So much better upon reread. Nancy is like the main character we follow here. She's new to Eleanor West's school, which is good because then we get to kind of learn things with her and we get to be confused alongside her. And you're meeting all of these kids who have been to these weird worlds and don't act like we would expect kids to act in our world because they've learned that they don't have to, and they've been in worlds that have accepted them for who they are, and they're trying to navigate being in this world, trying to navigate coping with the fact that there's a really good chance that they're not going to be able to go back to the worlds that they were from. Some of them know that they won't. Some of them still kind of have hope that they will. I really worried going into the series upon reread that it wasn't going to be as magical the second time around as it was for me the first time. I thought that it was going to be hard for me to get into this one because this one was the one that I rated 4 stars, but being able to see everyone now knowing more about their worlds, knowing the references that they're making to their stories, their pasts, because this is following them at the school kind of now, whereas a lot of the times when we're following the standalone stories, it's in the past because that was when they were in this world, and now we know that like they're at the school. My favorite quote happened toward the end of this book, but I don't think it's a spoiler at all. But that is the one that in the footage just started making me tear up. You're nobody's rainbow, you're nobody's princess. You're nobody's doorway but your own. And the only one who gets to tell you how your story ends is you. So those are my non-spoilerly thoughts. Moving into spoilers for this book, I will put it up on screen where to skip to, or I'll just put it in like the chapters if you want to skip around and move on to the next book that I'm reading. But oh my god, I love Jack so much. I remembered that it was Jill who was killing everyone. I didn't remember that it was Sumi who was the first one that died. Oh my god, that broke my heart all over again. And I loved, now that I know more about Sumi and now that we follow her in like later books, I loved being able to see her in the story, because the first time around people talked about loving Sumi so much in like the reviews, and I didn't get it when I was reading this book. I was like, she's okay, but she's definitely not my favorite. Now I understand. I completely forgot that we met Christopher, and we got like a little bit of his story with his flute of bones and being able to resurrect bones, which we see more with Sumi later on, and I think it's like the third book that we'll be reading. But I completely forgot that Lundy dies. I don't know why I had it in my head that we followed Lundy for longer. So if you've read more into the Wayward Children series and you haven't gone back through and oh my god, and you haven't gone back through and reread Every Heart a Doorway, absolutely recommend. I don't think you need to do like a whole reread of everything, especially not to read the newest book because that one is a standalone, I believe. But trust me, if you even kind of liked Every Heart a Doorway and you carried on with the series, go back and reread it because it was just so awesome. Also, I'm not asexual, so I can't speak on the quality of the asexual representation, but there is asexual representation in here in this book. Okay, moving on. I am hoping, I'm a little bit late, but I think Meg is doing more sprints, so I'm gonna turn that on my TV. I'm gonna read through this. Oh my god, I can't believe it's the second book. I'm so excited. I really hope I haven't built this up too much in my head. Jack and Jill are by far my favorite characters, Jack specifically. And this follows them. They are twins. They find a door to the moors when they are 12 years old, I believe. But this is a Dracula slash Frankenstein retelling. It has queer representation. This has so far been my favorite in the series, so we'll see if that still stands by the end of this. Oh, a little bit of an update also on time. Right now it is 11:18. So that took me about 2 hours, which makes sense because I didn't actually start reading it right away, and I had some other things that I had to do. There were some hang-ups, and also I just got done filming like my updates. So if I keep on track of like the 2 hours per book pacing, we should be okay. I decided to turn on my washer, and by the time I thought that through, it was too late. Also, Dory and Oliver are in rare form because I wasn't home last night, so now they've got all the energy. The opening quote of this book is actually a quote from Every Heart a Doorway, but it's a quote about Jack describing the moors. I think the rules were different there. It was all about science, but the science was magical. It didn't care about whether something could be done. It was about whether it should be done. And the answer was always, always yes.
Never said you felt that way. Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake us.
I forgot to do an early check-in with the last book and give you kind of a rundown of like what has happened so far. This time I'm remembering. So I was so enamored with the story of the world that Jack and Jill go to that I completely forgot the whole first part of this book and just how god awful their parents are. The first like 30 pages are Jack and Jill's origin story. We get to see her mom and dad who are just insufferable. They're lawyers who decide that having kids would help kind of raise their status. They see how people with kids are treated in the office, so they're like, oh, I need a kid. And the dad wants a son and the mom wants a daughter until the day that Jack and Jill are born and they find out that they're both girls. The dad is, of course, really upset, but he's like, it's fine. Like, we can make one of them a tomboy and one of them a girly girl. But of course, neither one of them want to have to like actually be parents or learn anything about their kids. They can't even tell Jack and Jill apart. So they bring in his mom. I believe it's his mom. It's either her mom, whatever. So they bring in the girl's grandmother, and she, Louise, is really who raises them until they are like 5 years old. So they notice that Jack is very quiet and more timid. Jill is like all over the place, running around all of the time. So they make Jill the tomboy, go and get her a pixie cut, start treating her like a boy. And then they make Jill the girly girl, start dressing her in floofy dresses. But really, it's only their grandma who sees and loves them for exactly who they are. Gamma Lou, chef's kiss. So on their 5th birthday, he is getting comments about how the nanny that they have, because he has told everyone at the office that the children's grandmother is just their nanny, is old, and sooner or later he's gonna have to start taking care of the nanny rather than the nanny taking care of the girls. The mom sees that Jack is more attached to their grandmother than she is to her mom. So they're like, okay, thanks for all the help, but bye. we don't need you anymore, we got this. They have no idea how to be parents. They know nothing about their kids. So she's heartbroken, but in the middle of the night, they just like, peace out, grandma. Never to be seen from again. Obviously, this is a conversation about the harmful effects of gender norms. So that's why they have such like very distinct differences between the two, is because we're having that conversation about how it can impact people growing up when they're put into this box of like a girl or a boy, and how girls and boys are supposed to act. Here, as we're getting introduced to the way that they're growing up, they're raised kind of the opposite of who they truly are. Jack absolutely hates the dresses that she's forced to wear all the time. Quickly starts to realize and kind of become afraid of germs and dirt because she's told that it's a bad thing for her, because Jill is raised more as the tomboy who's put into sports and dressed more like a boy and encouraged to play and be loud and run around. But who they really are, or who they grow up to be, when we see them in Every Heart a Doorway, is the opposite of that. So that was really just their intro story. We're gonna get more into the world, which I'll check in with you later. Either I'll do another halfway check-in or just at the end. But I completely forgot that like huge part of their origin story. So that was really cool to reread.
As you fade away, as you fade away.
Okay, it is exactly 1 o'clock now, but I only have like 20 more pages left. Not even, probably like 15. I'm gonna see if I can finish it before Kayla starts her live show, but if not, I'll finish up the last chapter afterward. Either way, I'm probably gonna update you once it's done, because I don't wanna miss this, because I have a lot of thoughts about Kiss Her Once for Me, which is the live show that we're talking about. Absolutely not related, but of course I am just loving this. I have so many tabs, and these are things that like I was trying to hold back on tabbing, and this is still how many tabs I have in the short book.
It's 1 star! Oh no! I saw a couple 1 stars in here. They turned out.
Thank you.
Them being,
Thank you, Kayla.
Quite a bit different from each other.
I'm definitely gonna have to speed things up. So we're on almost hour 5. I expected going in to absolutely love this book, so it's not as surprising that I loved this one as it was about Every Heart a Doorway, since that one I wasn't sure if it would still be as good or would be better upon a reread. I was just so excited to return back to the moors, return back to a story about Jack and Jill, but there were so many things about this that I forgot, and so many themes of this book that I forgot, that hit me so hard this time. I think I was really wrapped up just in like the magic of being in this world, because really this is the first world we get to see in this story. We hear about worlds in Every Heart a Doorway, but we don't get to be in it the way that we are in this one. And I just absolutely adored that, especially the first time around, and still this time. But there were so many other things that I got from the story. Now knowing more about our characters and already feeling kind of at home in this world, the love between Jack and Jill, that whole story of sisterly love, I just thought was amazing. Especially, I think that's just why I love Jack so much, is seeing how much she loves Jill despite their differences, despite the fact that they've been pitted against each other for their entire lives. She accepts Jill for who she is, and she has a deep understanding for her, even if she doesn't really understand her and she doesn't get her and she doesn't view the world in the same way that her sister does. She can still have so much empathy for her, and I just thought that that was amazing. The synopses for Seanan McGuire's books are just so good. Oh my god. Jacqueline was her mother's perfect daughter, polite and quiet, always dressed as a princess. If her mother was sometimes a little strict, it's because crafting the perfect daughter takes discipline. Jillian was her father's perfect daughter, adventurous, thrill-seeking, and a bit of a tomboy. He really would have preferred a son, but you work with what you've got. They were 5 when they learned that grown-ups can't be trusted. They were 12 when they walked down the impossible staircase and discovered that the pretense of love can never be enough to prepare you for a life filled with magic, in a land filled with mad scientists and death and choices. I mean, I can't summarize this book any better than that just did. Now onto the spoilers, because I just love talking about this book so much. I knew it was coming, but I was heartbroken all over again when Alexis died. And I knew that Jill killed Alexis, but I couldn't remember why, and I forgot that it was really motivated by her wanting to prove her like ruthlessness to her master, and wanting to prove that she was enough to be with him and to become a vampire. In my mind, I had that it was more about jealousy, which I think in some points it was. This book talks a lot about how children go missing or mysteriously die whenever they're around Jill because the master is so jealous of her being with anyone else. And I loved that depiction of the abusive relationship that Jill was in without realizing it. And Jack describing how Alexis was the person who taught her how to love, and her still choosing to love Jill and choosing to save her and rescue her and leave this place that she calls home to keep both of them safe. Despite the fact that Jill killed the person who Jack loved was just, oh, so heartbreaking. Now, having read so much of the series, coming back to this and knowing that like we come back to this world, I definitely was getting, I couldn't remember exactly what happened in this book compared to what happens in a later book because we do go back to the Moors, but being able to hear about like the drowned gods that we learn more about and knowing kind of what happens next with Alexis and Jack and Jill's story, this was such a good setup. It's just amazing to me what Seanan McGuire manages to pack in such a little book. I need to check and see what the next one is in the series. I think it's Beneath the Sugar Sky, which I think we end up in a nonsense world in Beneath the Sugar Sky, which a lot of people didn't like, but I still loved this one. I don't remember as much about it, and I know it's one of the ones that were back at the school for part of it, following a lot of the kids. And I like those. I think it's a good break. This is honestly such a good series to be binge reading, I think, because all of the books are so different. But anyway, Meg is starting her sprints. I think I'm going to hop on that. I'm gonna mainly listen to this one, I think, because I'm starving and I need to cook and eat some food. So I think I'm going to go on sprints, eat some food, listen to Beneath the Sugar Sky, and I'm excited about this one because I remember so little of it. I just got done with Kayla's book club, but Kayla's on these sprints too. Oh, I'm so excited.
But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away.
I'm so pissed. I've heard of this happening to people before, but it's never happened to me. I was listening to Beneath the Sugar Sky on Scribd, and in the middle of me listening to it, it revoked my access to the audiobook. Scribd is like supposed to be like Netflix for audiobooks. You pay a monthly subscription and then you get, quote, unlimited access, except it's not unlimited. And every once in a while, it'll just tell you that you have to wait. Like, I haven't listened to any audiobooks on Scribd in like a month, and I've listened to 2, and now I was like a fourth of the way through, not a fourth, like 20 pages in to this one, and it kicked me off. So I'm using another Scribd account that kind of seems like it's gonna kick me off every 2 books, so that sucks. I might have to just read a couple of them just physically or just buy the audiobooks, but it's just so frustrating. At least give me a heads up. Let me finish off the audiobook I'm on and then tell me I'm not gonna have access to the other ones. Anyway, I just finished part 1 of Beneath the Sugar Sky, so I wanted to check in with you all. I will say, if you don't want to know anything that happens in Every Heart a Doorway, I don't know how to talk about this without spoiling something that happens, like, I would say within the first 50 pages, because this so connects back to what happened there. That might end up being the case with all of these books that are not the standalones, because in this book, we're back at Eleanor West's school. We got the band back together. But this time we're following Cora, who is a new character. But the mission that they're about to go on is a spoiler. So if you don't want to hear anything about that, I'll put a timestamp. You can skip this one. Meet me back at the standalones. If you're still here, I knew that this was visiting Sumi's world. The FedEx, dude, thank you very much. So Sumi died in Every Heart a Doorway. But now, in these first like 50 pages, we are following Cora, who is like the main new girl to the school that we're following. Cora has a book of her own later on. So it's been cool to be able to read from Cora's perspective, knowing a little bit more about her. We've got fat representation, we've got Latinx representation, Asian representation in this book. I love just how diverse Seanan McGuire's books are. But in these opening paragraphs, Cora's getting introduced to the school, and then she meets this girl, Rinny? Rinny, yes. This naked girl, Rinny, appears in the turtle pond and is demanding that she see her mother, Sumi, and everyone's like, what's going on here? So we've got Sumi's daughter back from her world, and she's come back to see what Sumi has been up to because suddenly Rinny is starting to just disappear. So she's back to our world from confection, looking for her mom, wants to know what's up, and everyone's like, So this is awkward. That's about where we're at. I'm gonna continue listening. Hopefully I'll be able to get more than 2 books out of this other Scribd account to be able to listen to, but we'll see. Oliver, do you want to go for a walk? Yeah? Yeah? This live show is the best ever. Kayla, Meg, and Bree. Oh my god. How am I supposed to get any reading done? Okay, so I just finished Beneath the Sugar Sky, took Oliver for a walk, so most of this I listened to on audiobook, so I didn't tab it as much, but I read like most of the beginning and end physically along with the audiobook. I feel like I sound like a broken record at this point, but 5 stars. However, I will say with this one, I understand why people don't like it as much, and I don't think it was a filler, but I do think that this was used to kind of help with world building. Like, this was really focused on Seanan trying to explain to us a little bit more how the world works, the difference between nonsense and logical worlds, wicked and virtuous worlds, trying to give us a sneak peek into a nonsense world, because we, at least from what I've seen so far in the series, see a lot of like very logical worlds. So I understand why this existed. I also understand why people don't like it. I just think for me, the fat representation in here and the conversations that we have around that is so good that I know a lot of people find Cora annoying, but I love it. And as a fat person, I hear a lot on like the reviews and stuff that all she talks about is being fat and da-da-da, but like, I get it. Right? Because I don't want that to be a core part of my being, but I was raised in a way where it had to become a core part of who I am. And it gets brought up into conversations a lot. And dieting and restricting our eating and our relationship with food and movement and our bodies becomes just so ingrained in everything that we do, even when it's not relevant, even when I didn't ask for that conversation. I love how that's shown in here. Even though there's some, like, this doesn't hit as hard for me because it is more world building based and it's not as character focused, I guess, in the sense of the characters that we usually follow and really love. For me, I just so appreciated that aspect of it, which I think is what I loved and took away from it the first time, and definitely what I did this time as well. I know why people are disappointed, because this book makes it sound like this is a Sumi book, right? That we're like gonna get more of Sumi and we're gonna go to confection, her world, and we have her daughter, and then that's not what happens. Like, Sumi is dead / a skeleton for 99% of this book. We only get a glimpse of her at the end. So I totally understand why people were disappointed by that, because I know people love Sumi so much. If I remember correctly, I do think the next time that we're at the school, we do get to see Sumi a little bit more, because she is back at the school for at least a few years. But I understand if we're going to confection, if we're doing a nonsense world, people probably wanted more Sumi. And the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm like, oh yeah, this is definitely a 5-star. So the next book that I'm reading is In an Absent Dream. I grabbed the wrong one. I'll pop up a picture here. That is Lundy's story, and that is the one that I remember absolutely loving as well, which I wasn't excited about when I first heard about it, but now having read it, I'm really excited to reread it. We met Lundy in Every Heart a Doorway. She is the therapist / Eleanor's right-hand woman. I know that I love this. These sprints with Kayla, Bree, and Megan have been, oh my god, incredible. I actually had to pause them so I could come give this update, but I didn't want to have to. Can't sit up for this update because I'm afraid I'm going to spill my tea, and this chair I'm on just kind of sucks you in. So in this novella, we are following Lundy as she discovers the Goblin Market, and this is one of my favorite worlds. I love the moors, and I love the Goblin Market, and she finds it in the base of a tree. Just like the setup of Down Among the Sticks and Bones, we get to see a little bit of her childhood and why she is the way that she is, and therefore why this world would choose her. So she was very much a rule follower, but it emphasizes that she was really good at finding loopholes, which will come in handy later. What is it called? Foreshadowing. She's really into reading, and she just wants to be able to live her life reading books. We have a pattern of questionable parenting that happens with the kids who find doors. But whenever Lundy arrives to this world, let me see where it was at. Oh my god, and the artwork in this book, this one, absolutely stunning. So whenever she first walks into this world, there's like a wall with some rules written on it. We have Rule 1, ask for nothing. Rule 2, names have power. Rule 3, always give fair value. Rule 4, take what is offered and be grateful. And Rule 5, remember the curfew. And right now she has the chance to get some of her questions answered, because otherwise inside of this world, questions cost you things. Because one of the rules is that you have to pay fair value. You don't know what you're going to end up paying if you don't know the rules. So she's kind of learning what this world is about. I'm so excited to jump back into this. I just finished In an Absent Dream. All of these are feeling like they go by so much faster than I remembered in my head. Like, I guess in my head, I felt like they were full-size novels, even though I know that they're novellas, but it's just amazing how much Seanan McGuire packs into one little story. Once again, we got another 5 stars, but I think with this one, I still loved it, but it didn't hit as hard the second time, and I think that's because there are a lot of things that happen in this that, like, there are plot twists or things along the way that you see them when you're rereading them because you know what's gonna happen, but knowing what's gonna happen almost takes out that like hard-hittingness of the story, because this one was the one, like, I sobbed the first time that I read the story. This one is also really heavy in the world building too, but because we're following Lundy and mainly her perspective, it does feel more balanced with like character development as well, especially in comparison to Beneath the Sugar Sky, the last book that I read. But I think some of the magic of this one came from learning about the world along with Lundy. It being kind of confusing at first and you not understanding how these rules work because, I have something in my eye. In the Goblin Market, with those rules that are set up, everything is about finding fair value. This world is as fair as it comes, but because of that, there are consequences if you're not offering fair value, if you owe people things, even things like questions have a cost to them, which I guess now, moving forward, we'll go into spoilers for this one, because we find out pretty early on in the book that someone from her family, and she suspects it's her dad, has been to the Goblin Market before, but obviously her dad chose not to stay. And that's a big thing about this world that's interesting, right, is that a lot of these worlds, the kids don't know if they're ever going to get kicked back to our world, and sometimes the door only opens once and then that's it. So if you get caught on the wrong side, this one, you can kind of go back and forth between the Goblin Market and our world up until you're 18. And by the time that you're 18, you need to have made a decision. And Lundy throughout this whole thing is really kind of struggling with that because she doesn't really feel like she fits into our world, and she doesn't really feel like she fits into her family either, because her dad knows that she's going to this Goblin Market, but her dad's not really doing anything to make her stay. Like, he ships her off to a boarding school to try to keep her away from her door, but really what she needed was to feel loved and included in her family, but her dad just didn't know how to do that for her. And she's really struggling with going back and forth, wanting to be there for the moments with her little sister, but also wanting to be in the Goblin Market with Moon and be able to live in this world. So with her being in this world, we're also getting flashes to her dad and kind of his perspective on things, but oh, the ending of this book crushes my soul, because again, we're tying back to her being really good at finding loopholes, and she thinks that she's found a loophole for the fact that once you turn 18, you have to have made a decision, and she wants more time in our world, and she wants more time to be able to go back and forth before she makes that decision. So she asks for something that will allow her to not turn 18 for a while and give her more time. But in doing that, and in accepting that thing, which is like a vial of something that is going to reverse her aging, she has inherently not offered fair value, which is what this whole world is based in. So because of that, there's a consequence to it, because she owes a debt that she'll no longer be able to pay, and she's broken a rule, and that consequence is that she's kicked out, she's banished from this world, which is the one she ultimately thought that she wanted to live in, just she wanted more time, and she's destined to continue aging backwards. So that's why in Every Heart a Doorway we find Lundy and she looks like a 10-year-old, but this book is based in the 60s. So we were seeing Lundy as a child in the 60s, but then she grows up from like the age of 8 to 18, but then at 18, right before she turns 18, she starts aging backwards, but it's not as fast. I think it's that for every year of time that goes by, she ages backward a month. So Eleanor West actually finds her in the 90s, which we learn in the last chapter of this book. So again, really good. I love talking about these because I just think that the worlds are so magical. And even though this world is dark, it's fair, but not in the sense that our world is fair. And there's a lot of things that you agree with on the fairness, a lot of things that kind of prohibit people from taking advantage of others. It's not always kind in the way that we would think. And there are consequences that we wouldn't see as fair, especially when, like her dad brings up, we're talking about the fact that this world is asking for a child to make this decision, this huge, literally life-changing decision, and what the ethics and fairness of that is. But like I said, this is still a solid 5-star for me. It's just that really sad, heartbreaking ending didn't hit as much because I knew it was coming, right? So it's a little bit different. So now my plan is to start reading Come Tumbling Down. I'm going to listen to the audiobook and read this physically, and I think I'm going to like ride on my stationary bike for a little while just to get up and moving and get off of this chair. I'm watching Bree sprints in the meantime. I also think later I'm gonna do a puzzle. That might be what I do during Across the Green Grass Fields because that's the one I'm looking forward to least out of all of these books. And hopefully that'll give my eyes a little bit of a break. Right now it is 7:15. I guess I should have been holding this closer to prove the time to you guys. 7:15, so we're going on hour 10. We just are halfway through. So we're gonna keep chugging along. I'm so excited about Come Tumbling Down because we are back at the school, but we're back with Jack and Jill, which, as we already know, Jack is my fave. What does it say in here? It doesn't say a lot. We just know that Jack is coming back for her friend's help at the school. Again, it's gonna be hard to talk about this book without talking about spoilers, so this whole section is gonna be spoiler filled. So if you don't wanna hear that, skip to the next standalone one. But I love this because the last time that we saw Jack and Jill, literally in the timeline, is that she had just killed Jill, opened a door back up to the moors, and they were headed back. And we found out in Down Among the Sticks and Bones, the reason that she killed Jill and then the door was able to open is because the doctor Dr. Bleak, I think, that Jack worked with, was telling her that like that's how he figured out how the doors work, and that she couldn't bring Jill back alive. Because if she was alive, then she could still be a vampire for the vampire dude, but he's not gonna want her as a vampire if she's dead. So that was Jack kind of saving Jill in a way, but then taking her back to the moors so that hopefully Dr. Bleak can help fix her. And Jack's about to show up again because something has gone down in the moors. I actually don't remember exactly what it is, so I'm excited about this one. I just remember loving it so much because my girl Jack. So I rode on my bike for like a half hour. I was gonna ride for a little bit more, but then Oliver climbed up on my plants, and the last time he did that, he knocked them all over, spilling dirt everywhere, so I hopped off that bike. And then I didn't want to get back on, so I'm not going to. I was watching Bree sprints, but she's sprinting for 2 hours, which good for her and good for me because then that means I'll be able to get things done. So now I'm about like 60, 70 pages in. I don't know quite where I am. I just know on the audiobook. And now I'm starting to remember things a little bit more. So it's not technically Jack who comes back. It is Alexis who brings Jack back, but Jack is in Jill's body because Jill stole Jack's body so that she could still have a chance of becoming a vampire, since in her body she couldn't become a vampire, but Jack's body had never died before. So technically Jack's body could still become a vampire, but Jack's really struggling because, as we know, it makes her really uncomfortable when she's dirty or she's touching things that she doesn't know where they've been, or things are touching her that she doesn't know where they've been. So to be in someone else's body and to know all of the things that Jill's body has been through, it's obviously really distressing for her. I just love it because the conversations that Cade is having with her, because Cade, as a trans boy, understands what it's like to be in a body that doesn't feel like yours. So those moments are just awesome, and this has made me laugh out loud already. I just love stories where Jack is in it. And the love that Alexis and Jack have for each other, chef's kiss. So we're at the point where I think they're all gonna get together and try to go back to the moors to fix the situation between Jack and Jill, and I'll check in with you when I'm done. It is 9:03, so we're basically on hour 12, but I have finished Come Tumbling Down. Say it with me, 5 stars. And I completely didn't remember how this ended, which is shocking considering how it ends. But for some reason I made up an alternate ending in my mind, so that's what I was expecting. That's not what happened. I thought in my mind that Jack kept saying that she knew that she was gonna have to kill Jill, or Jill was going to continue to, you know, keep trying to get her way, and probably people were gonna die because of that. But that instead of killing Jill, she like killed herself in her body instead, so that then neither her body nor Jill's body would work and she wouldn't be able to be a vampire no matter what. But that doesn't make much sense because I'm sure Jill would have just killed Jack for the spite of it, or would have killed everyone that Jack loved. But like that was vividly in my mind as the ending to this book. So when Jack actually did kill Jill, I was like, okay. And that line, oh my god, when she's getting ready to push Jill off of the castle and she says, "The moors turned us both into monsters," said Jack. The resignation in her tone was a roll of thunder, heavy and unforgiving, but it did a better job with me. Then she shoved Jill over the edge. When I tell you I gasped, my god, how could you not just fucking love this series? How could you not just fucking love Jack, honestly? This has just turned into a Jack fan account. I'm happy with it. We did get to see more of Sumi in this one. Sumi had some really good quotes. I love that it shows that like Sumi came from this world of nonsense and candy and things that you would think would be very frilly and lighthearted. But some of the shit that she says, Okay. I wonder if I have a quote in here. Oh, okay, yeah. So Jack comes to the moors and finds Dr. Bleak decapitated amongst the tomato garden. And Sumi's like commenting on the fact that Jack could sell sunless tomatoes in the real world since they grow without the sun. And Christopher is not having it. And Sumi says, we can be sad and we can be hurt and we can even be killed. But the world keeps turning and the things we're supposed to do keep needing to be done. It's time to get up, Jacqueline Wolcott. It's time to remember what needs to be done for this cookie to crumble the way you want it to. She's not fucking around, okay? Love to see it. I'm thinking that it might be a trend that the odd number books where we have everyone together are going to be better upon reread, and the solo books are still going to be good, but not as magical, just given the nature of the difference between those two kind of storytelling styles. And honestly, I did not see that coming when I started filming this. So the time has come. Hour 12, we got our horse girl. Okay, nothing against my girlies who love horses. I'm trying to go in this with as open mind as possible. To be perfectly fair, I was about halfway through it that last time and then I realized I just did not give a shit. So I kept it playing on like my audiobook, but I wasn't fully listening. I couldn't tell you the main name of our girl. I couldn't tell you most of the plot points. I think maybe I kind of remember how it ended, but not fully. So I'm going to try to give it the best shot that it has. I respect everyone who loves horses. My brother loves horses. I am allergic to horses, like really allergic to them. Not my thing, okay? Reagan's our girl. Centaurs and kelpies and other magical equines. Equines? I'm probably also gonna make some dinner because I'm starving and I've been waiting for a book that I wasn't as dedicated to wanting to tab. So I'm probably gonna listen to the audiobook, but I'm gonna really focus on paying attention and go in with a positive as possible attitude. And we'll see how it goes. Okay, I am currently cooking dinner, but I just wanted to come on and say, but I love the first part of the story. Reagan, we're following her during her like school age years. She's really struggling with fitting in. She's got a mean girl for a best friend, and she's just trying to fit in with like that group. So she ends up being kind of like mean to one of her like genuine friends. And then to top it all off, everyone starts hitting puberty and she realizes that she isn't, and that she looks different and her body is progressing differently than the other girls. So she has a conversation with her parents and her parents talk about how she's intersex, and we get conversations around that. Awesome. And we actually have representation of genuinely good parenting. Parents who were prepared for the conversation, who had thought about when they were gonna have it and what they were gonna say. Of course, we have like some mess ups, but overall, they at least like cared about their kid and wanted to make sure that she didn't feel like there was something wrong with her. So I'm loving that so far, but I know we're getting to the world, the magic world, and I'm not sure. Okay, listen, I know that I said that I thought I was gonna do a puzzle. I don't know if I have that in me, so I'm gonna play Candy Crush instead, and then see how I feel. I did in fact decide to do a puzzle, only because I wasn't really feeling Candy Crush and I needed something to do with my hands while I listened to that audiobook. I will be honest, it was not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. I still wouldn't say it's great, and it's only good because it's part of the series, right? And it's Seanan McGuire. So even a story that I hate with a character I don't really care about. I rated it a 2-star last time. I wouldn't say it was a 2-star. I would say like 3. I think the big thing for me was I was just so disappointed because I had loved all of the books up until this point. So for this to be just so different, like this didn't have, like I love all of the quotes that I can pull from the books. And this just in some ways felt like it wasn't written by Seanan McGuire. Even with the storyline that I wasn't a huge fan of, putting that aside, it didn't have that beautiful writing and character building that I'm used to with the rest of the series. So it just kind of was like, it was fine. I definitely think that now that I had better, like more realistic expectations and I was kind of a little bit nervous about it, I was able to appreciate the parts that I did like about it, namely like the first 90 pages of it. It's like a little less than half. When we're first getting introduced to Reagan and her family, and then when she first finds this world and she's trying to find her place amongst, I still couldn't really tell you what this is about. So Reagan finds a door to the Hooflands where there are like centaurs and unicorns, but the centaurs are the ones that like talk. Unicorns are kind of like our version of horses, but they've never heard of horses before. Reagan loved horses, so she was really excited. So she ends up kind of becoming part of this flock and this family, and she learns pretty quickly that signs of humans in the past in this world have been that they're destined to save the world, and then they disappear. But Reagan's really falling in love with this world, so she wants to save it, but she doesn't want to have to disappear. So that's like the non-spoilery part of it. Loved that we had an intersex main character. I loved the interactions between her, and I still don't know her best friend's name that she makes there. Her centaur best friend. I'm really bad with names. I thought that that friendship was really beautiful. I don't have a ton of spoilers to give, just kind of the ending, because I feel like that's really the only plot that happens in this book is like the last 15 pages. So if you don't want to hear about that, I'll have a little spot for you to skip. But so I've listened to this twice, and I still think, I'm not 100% sure. She's destined to go fight this queen that no one has ever seen before. And she finds out that it's actually just the human that came before her to this world. Like that's where they've been that's where they've been disappearing to. It's not that they ever left, it's that they've like become this invisible ruler. I still don't know why. Like if it was just a power thing or what, but it was basically that like the humans came and just killed whoever was there before them. The other human on the throne, and then took over. But she's like, no, that's not right. But you know, then there's like a moral to the story. Because these are set up like fairy tales where they have like a very strong moral and point and purpose of the story. So the whole thing is obviously like Reagan doesn't do that. She does kill the dude. I think she just shoots him with an arrow because she's like, okay, I'm done with you and your bullshit. Because the humans just thought like, oh, they're creatures, they're not like us, so we can do whatever we want, basically. And she was like, no, that's not okay. Which, fantastic, great moral of the story, but like, not enough for me to really care. It was just fine. It was fine. My only thought is that Reagan must come and play a big part in whatever story Seanan has planned in the future for like the parts of the stories that do intersect. She must end up coming to the school and playing a bigger role. I can't remember if she's in the next book. I guess we'll see. But my hope is that she plays a big role in something that made all of this worthwhile. Because that's the only reason I can think of why this was written. To be perfectly honest. But it is 10:57. And I'm feeling better than I thought I would, and I'm actually making better time than I was during the beginning for sure. And I think that's because less people were sprinting. Like I watched Bree sprints, but she did really long sprints. So that helped. Taking the like 20-minute breaks every 40 minutes was really putting me behind schedule. Oh, in case anyone is wondering, this is the puzzle I'm doing. I think it's 500 pieces. I hope it's 500 pieces. I did not sign up for 1,000. No, it's 500. Perfect. We're gonna move on to Where the Drowned Girls Go, which I'm super excited about. This one all of these other ones I read between like most of them in February of last year, I think is when it was. And then one of them I read like during the summer. So I would guess like June or July. That was this last one. But Where the Drowned Girls Go, I actually read like a month and a half ago. Because I had been saving it, I wanted to like wait until it was closer to the release of the newer book because I didn't think I would do a full reread. I figured I'd read like a few of them that I really liked. I did not plan on doing a full reread in 24 hours. That was a fun idea Alexa had just a few weeks ago. But so far, I'm really loving it. I'm excited to reread Where the Drowned Girls Go because even though I only read it a couple of months ago, I know that it follows Cora and it's really cool and it'll be a good change of pace because we're transitioning back to the books that have everyone together. But this time, instead of being at Eleanor West School for Wayward Children, we're at the like sister school, the other school that's in North America. But that is the school that the kids go to when they want to like forget their worlds. And we still get, I believe, if I remember right, like glimpses of Eleanor West School. But I'm excited for a little bit of a change of pace, some new people. So I'm going to keep doing my puzzle while I start listening to the 7th book. And then, oh my god, then we're going to be on to the 8th. And I am so excited to read the new one.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way.
So we do see Reagan. Hello. We do see Reagan in Where the Drowned Girls Go. I don't know how I forgot about that. It's all coming back to me now that like I've started this one. Now I remember kind of where this is going. But Cora ends up asking to transfer to this other school because the drowned gods keep whispering in her head and they want her back, and she's worried that they're gonna come to this world and get her. So she hopes that if she is able to forget, that maybe they won't be able to like break through. But quickly she finds out that the school is like not okay and there's some sketch things going. The headmaster has not good vibes. The second Cora gets there, she wants to leave, but the headmaster's like, oh no, no, no. You transferred here and you had your parents and Eleanor West sign papers, so you're here, but don't worry. We'll help you forget. You're gonna be fine. Spoiler alert, not everything is gonna be fine. And this entire school's motto is pretty much gaslight, girl boss, gatekeep. Just ignore his ear. We got Sumi back.
Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away.
I just finished Where the Drowned Girls Go. I would get up, but I've got Oliver here and he's just too cute to move, so I think we can all understand why I'm stuck where I am. I was right that this one did have Sumi back. Sumi comes to like rescue Cora from the White Thorn Institute. Finally figured out the name. Of course, like all of the other ones, 5-star. This one upon reread was definitely better. I think I can for sure say that the ones that have to do with a lot of the kids at the schools are better upon reread. Still always like been awesome, but I think there's something extra special upon reread, especially because then you know more of the characters. But so far, I don't think that the world ones are as magical upon reread, at least for me. They're still amazing, right? But there's like that little bit of something that's not there that you get the first time that you're reading it and as you're learning about this world. So knowing that, I am so excited to go into our last one. Oh, time. There we go. 12:38. But I'm going to start, see if I can grab it without disturbing your highness here. Lost in the Moment and Bound. This one, TBH, don't know what it's about or who it's following. It's following Antoinette, who we meet in Where the Drowned Girls Go for a little bit. We just see her a little bit at Eleanor West School. She finds lost things. So again, this is going to be one of those that is a standalone because it is the 8th book in the series. I'm so excited for this. I can't wait. I'm excited that I get a standalone learning about a world that's not a reread tonight. So it looks like I will be here. So I'm going to get started reading that one. I'll do a little bit of an early check-in when I figure out more what it's about because I have no idea. And then we'll go from there. This is it. This is the moment, Oliver. You excited? Tyler is public enemy number 1. This man. That is all. I fucking hate when adults say this shit. Absolutely not. Just a little bit of a heads up. Seanan does put like a content warning at the beginning of this one. Most of the Wayward Children series is dark and, you know, it's horror and it has dark elements to it. But this one, our main character, Ansi, she goes through a lot at the beginning of the book. So if you're reading that and you think that you need it, just look up more content warnings and just be aware of that information before going into it. We get Ansi's backstory for the first like 50 pages, which is where I'm on now, chapter 5. So far, really good, but definitely something that if you need them, look up content warnings for. My allergies really started acting up. It is 2:39 and we did it. I have like hives on my wrist and my eyes are watering and I'm already in bed. I read the last part of this in bed. I was a little nervous because I was worried that I wasn't gonna like our main character as much as I have like loved some of the other main characters in the past. But by the end of this book, I loved Ansi so much. This book had a little bit of a different vibe than some of the other standalones, which I'm going to talk about more in the morning. I think it's going to be better if I just have a night to sleep to be able to come up with some cohesive thoughts and make sure editing Alexa isn't screaming at how I end this vlog. Because at this point I've been up since 5 a.m. and since it is now 3 a.m. I'm ready to go to sleep. So I'll see you in the morning. So I'm checking back in the next morning to let you know my thoughts on Lost in the Moment and Found. I am so glad that I didn't try to piece my thoughts together about this late last night. Good thing I reserved that until the morning. So in this most recent standalone, Antoinette, or like she likes to be called Ansi, she discovers a door to a world that has many doors where all of the lost things go. This one is really interesting because it feels different than the other standalones that we've read so far. This one I feel like was much more character-based and way less world world building based. Usually the structure of the standalones is like the first 30, maybe 50 pages of it, we're learning about our main character's backstory, and then we dive deep into the world. This one, I feel like, I don't know if the length of it, we actually covered more of her story or not. So this one, it was like the first 50 pages, but this one is a lot shorter than some of the other books. This one is only like 150 pages long. So we spent the good like first third of the book learning about Yancy and why she has discovered the store. I still really loved this book. Say it with me, 5 stars. I am so glad that we're ending on that note because honestly I was a little bit worried, but I will say it's not as strong of a 5-star as some of the other ones. I do wish that we had a little bit more time in the world than we did. This one had like a little bit of a mystery element to it. Our main girl finds a note and she's trying to kind of figure out what it means. And I think weirdly, it was actually much more focused on the mystery than it was the fantasy and the horror, which is not usually Seanan's vibes. But because of that mystery element, I actually think that this might be a standalone that would be better upon reread. Because I actually think that it's a mystery element that, because you know what happens and what's kind of going on, it would be interesting to reread it with that knowledge. I don't think I want to do a spoiler section for this one just because it is a new release and I want to give people some time to like discover it for themselves, and because there is that mystery element to it. And I don't think that I necessarily need to spoil anything to get like my full feelings across like I did with some of these. Should I rank these? Okay, I'm going to real fast. I'm gonna rank these, and I'm kind of a little shocked about my rankings now. I think that this is a lot different than I would have ranked it before I did this reread. So if you're just curious about like my final thoughts and my ranking on all of these, let's go through that. So we all know, if you watched any part of this vlog, In the Green Grass Fields has gotta be at the bottom. Okay, we're going from bottom to top. This has gotta be number 8. It did better this time for me. I would give it a 3 stars instead of like the 2.5 that I gave it the last time. But I think that's just because I knew what to expect and I knew that I wasn't gonna like it. But I actually really did like our main girl Reagan in the intro that we had to her. It's just that this world is not for me, and I felt like the conclusion left something to be desired, and that overall this just didn't feel like Seanan McGuire wrote it in comparison to the rest of these. The next one that I'm gonna say, oh, this is so tricky. These middle 3 are tricky because I feel like it, depending on literally the moment in time that I'm talking about them, they could change around a little bit. But for right now, where I stand, I think the next one I'm gonna say is Lost in the Moment and Found. And this isn't to say like we have a big jump between a 3-star and 5-star, but I would say that this is the lowest of the 5 stars for me. But I do really think that it could be better upon reread. And I think that there's a good chance that like Yancy and Reagan and Cora are gonna become kind of our new kids that we're following for the next few books. And it might be that later on when I go back and reread this that I actually really like it because maybe I've like learned more about her. It had a lot of real life horror elements to it in the sense of like our girl's been through a lot and it is really dark and heavy, but the fantasy horror part about it wasn't really there for me. Next, I'm going to put Beneath the Sugar Sky. I love this one, but I do think, again, just the light-hearted, whimsical nonsense worlds, and I do wish the characters that we followed in this one, we followed in a little bit of a different manner. However, Cora is my girl. She's really grown on me, so. Next, I'm gonna put Where the Drowned Girls Go. Again, I really like Cora, and I actually really like going to see the different institute, the sister school to Eleanor West School for Wayward Children. This one was a lot darker. We got to see some of like my favorite characters for this era, the later era of the Wayward Children series. And overall, this one was even better upon reread, like most of the ones that take place at the school are for me. Next, I'm going to put In an Absent Dream. This one, just because I love the Goblin Market so much and the storyline is amazing. This one probably would have been higher up on my list before the reread, but I just don't think it hit as hard the second time because you kind of know where it's going. Finally, for my top 3 books, number 3 is going to be Every Heart a Doorway. This would have been toward the bottom of my list before a reread. I gave this one 4 stars, and then other than Across the Green Grass Fields, I gave all of the other ones 5 stars the first time. But this one was the only one that made me cry upon this reread. I teared up a little bit. And this is the first one, and we just get an introduction to some of my favorite characters throughout the series. If you watch this vlog at all, you know my love for Jack, and I just feel like nothing beats those original set of characters. So reading this one was such an amazing time and such a great way to kick off this vlog. Now, my number 2 kind of shocks me a little bit, but it's gonna be Down Among the Sticks and Bones, which would have been my holy grail number 1. I would have went to the grave saying that until the reread. And it's not because this got any worse upon reread. I still loved it. My God, I tapped the shit out of it. But it's just that this other one became just, chef's kiss level tier this second time around. Of course, we know any story that is following Jack and Jill just has my heart stolen away. This one is still iconic. It is still going to be among some of the best books that I've ever read. And I'm so excited about the prospect of rereading this book like every year. But then of course, that leaves our number one spot, Come Tumbling Down. Again, of course, we're following Jack and Jill, but this one is the one that is set at the school, whereas Down Among the Sticks and Bones is their insular, like, origin story with their worlds. And rereading the ones that are set at the school just did so well for me. And that is such a surprise because I would have swore that I was a standalone girly. But no, I'm an odd number girly, I think. At least for rereads when it comes to rereading them. This book is just absolutely perfect, in my opinion. And I'm so fucking glad that I did this reread so I could discover my love of this world again. Reading all of these books in 24 hours was just overall such a fun time. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know down below if you've read this series, if it is something that you want to pick up or not. And if you have, what are some of your favorites? How would your ranking list compare to mine? If you made it all the way to the end of this video, put a little door emoji down in the comments below so I know that you're the real MVP. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.